Have you ever noticed how two people can face the same challenge, the same loss, the same setback, the same uncertainty, yet one falls apart while the other somehow stays steady? It's not because one is stronger or luckier. It's because suffering doesn't come from the event itself. It comes from the mind's reaction to it. Hard times don't break us. It's the stories our mind creates around those moments that begin to crumble us from the inside. And the mind is clever. It can turn a single worry into a storm that feels impossible to escape. But Buddhism offers a doorway most people forget exists. Not an escape, not a distraction, but a return. A return to a place inside you that isn't touched by fear, pressure, or uncertainty. A place that remains calm even when life feels loud. You don't have to run away from your struggles or pretend nothing hurts. You simply learn to walk back to yourself, to the part of you that remains unbroken beneath the noise. The peace you're searching for isn't out there, somewhere in the future, hiding behind perfect conditions or a problem-free life. It's not waiting for you to earn it or unlock it. Peace is already here, buried gently under layers of overthinking, old fears, and emotional turbulence. And the moment you stop fighting your thoughts is the moment you begin uncovering it. So stay with me, because in the next few minutes, you're going to feel something you may not have felt in a long time. A sense of lightness. Not because your life changes, but because your relationship with your mind does. And when that happens, even your hardest days begin to lose their power over you. Part 1. The mind is a storyteller, but you are the author. Your mind has a way of turning even the simplest moment into a dramatic story. A small mistake becomes a disaster. A delay becomes a failure. A silence becomes rejection. When life feels uncertain, the mind becomes even louder, exaggerating, predicting danger, and spinning worst-case scenarios as if they're already true. But here's the shift that changes everything. Your mind is a storyteller. Your awareness is the author. The storyteller loves intensity. The author chooses what actually becomes your reality. Most people don't realize this difference. We grow up believing that every thought is meaningful, every fear deserves attention, and every inner voice must be obeyed. But Buddhism reveals something far more freeing. Thoughts are mental formations, not facts. They are temporary flickers shaped by past conditioning, old fears, and emotional patterns. A thought can scream loudly and still be wrong. A thought can feel urgent and still be untrue. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who notices them. Think of your mind like a movie projector. It plays scenes of failure, embarrassment, or danger. But awareness is the person sitting in the theater, calmly watching the screen. The problem begins when you forget you're the observer and start believing you are inside the movie. A negative thought appears, and instead of noticing it, you become it. Instead of saying, "I'm having a fearful thought," you say, "I am afraid. This fear is who I am." And just like that, the story takes over. One of the most powerful practices in Buddhism is shockingly simple, yet life-changing. Name the thought, don't wear it. When your mind whispers, "I can't do this," pause and say, "There is a thought of doubt." When it says, "Everyone will judge me," say, "There is a thought about judgment." This tiny shift breaks the spell. You separate yourself from the noise. The thought loses its grip because you've stopped identifying with it. Awareness is quiet, but it's steady. It doesn't panic. It doesn't exaggerate. It simply observes. When you stay in awareness, you step out of the tornado of mind noise and into a space of clarity. You begin to trust your inner knowing, the calm place beneath the storm. And when you truly understand this, worry begins to fade. Not because your life becomes perfect, but because you finally remember you are the sky, not the clouds. Part 2. Anxiety is a movie projector. Presence is the power switch. Anxiety doesn't begin in the present moment. It begins the moment your mind leaves it. The moment you step out of what is and start wandering into what if. Your mind becomes a movie projector, playing frightening scenes of a future that doesn't exist yet. What if I lose everything? What if this ends badly? What if I'm not enough? The strange part is, the body reacts to these imagined scenes as if they're happening right now. Your heart races, your stomach tightens, your breath becomes shallow, all because of a movie you're not even aware you're watching. But here's the shift that cuts anxiety at its root. Presence is the power switch. When you return to the here and now, the projector shuts off. The terrifying images dissolve. The mind no longer drags you into a world of imagined disasters. And suddenly, you're back in your body, back in reality, where things are almost always gentler than your fears suggested. Fear comes from time traveling into the future. Peace comes from coming home to this moment. Every time you anchor into your breath, your senses, or the weight of your body, you interrupt the mental loop that fuels anxiety. You remind yourself, right now, in this moment, I am safe. Here's a simple but powerful micro-practice, the 3-breath reset. Take one slow breath to feel your body. Take one slow breath to soften your chest. Take one slow breath to return to yourself. 3 breaths, that's all it takes to interrupt a spiral. You don't need to solve the next 10 problems or predict the next 10 steps. Buddhism teaches that the present moment is the only true refuge, the only place where your breath lives, your body exists, and your power actually works. Everything else is a wandering mind. The more you practice returning to the present, the more you strengthen an inner stability that fear cannot touch. You realize the future is just a projection, a story your mind creates out of habit. But your breath, your presence, your awareness, these are real. And when you can stay here, even for a few seconds at a time, you're no longer trapped in the movie. You're the one holding the switch, and you finally remember. The present moment was never the problem. It was always the escape. Part 3. You are not the weather. You're the one who carries the umbrella. One of the greatest sources of suffering is the belief that life should bend itself to our plans, that people should behave the way we want, that situations should unfold the way we imagined, that outcomes should match our expectations, but life rarely agrees to play by those rules. The weather changes without asking. People surprise us, disappoint us, or drift away. Plans fall apart, even when we've done everything right. If you cling to the idea that life must follow your script, every unexpected moment feels like a personal attack. But Buddhism offers a far more liberating perspective. You are not the weather. You're the one who carries the umbrella. You don't control the storms, you guide your inner state as the storm passes. You can't force the world to be calm, but you can choose to remain grounded inside yourself. And that shift alone can transform your entire emotional landscape. You may not control what happens, but you can always regulate your response. You can guide your breath when your heart tightens. You can soften your body when tension rises. You can choose silence over reacting, clarity over panic, intention over impulse. This is inner mastery, not over life, but over yourself. And this is where true power lives. A simple, yet life-changing tool can help you practice this. Pause, breathe, choose. Pause before your reaction takes over. Breathe to settle your nervous system. Choose the response that aligns with who you want to be, not what the moment provokes in you. This tiny interruption breaks the automatic chain of fear, anger, or worry. It gives you control where it matters most within. Over time, this practice builds equanimity, or upaka, a calm, balanced mind that remains steady in chaos. Equanimity is not passivity. It doesn't mean you stop caring or stop taking action. It means you stop trying to control what you cannot and start mastering what you can. When you cultivate equanimity, you respond to life instead of reacting to it. You walk through storms without losing yourself. You face uncertainty without collapsing into fear. You stop trying to force outcomes and begin choosing your state of being. And in that moment, you discover a quiet truth. Peace was never about controlling the world. It was about learning to carry your umbrella with grace. Part 4. Pressure doesn't break you. It reveals the shape of your inner mountain. We often believe our hardest seasons are the ones that ruin us, the heartbreak that shattered our trust, the failure that stole our confidence, the loss that left us breathless. But what if these moments didn't break you? What if they revealed you? Pressure has a way of exposing the shape of your inner mountain, the strength, compassion, and clarity you didn't know lived inside you until life demanded it. Think about the times you've grown the most. It wasn't when everything was easy. It was when you were brought to your knees, when life forced you into stillness, when the familiar fell apart, and you had no choice but to face what hurt. Real transformation rarely happens in sunlight, it happens in darkness. Seeds do not sprout on the surface. They begin their journey underground, pushed by the weight of the soil. You too have risen because something heavy once pressed against you. Pain builds empathy because it teaches you what others feel. It builds strength because it shows you what you can survive. It builds clarity because it strips away what never mattered. Every difficult chapter in your life has quietly shaped the person you are now. Not polished, not perfect, but deeper, softer, more awake. Here's a practice to turn these moments into wisdom. Journal the lesson hidden inside the struggle. Not why did this happen to me, but what is this moment trying to teach me? Write the emotions you tend to avoid, the fear you pretend isn't there, the sadness you hide behind strength, the disappointment you swallow to stay polite. When you name your pain, you begin transforming it. When you explore it with honesty instead of resistance, it becomes your teacher instead of your enemy. Buddhism calls this turning suffering into wisdom, using painful experiences as fuel for awakening. Every hardship carries a message, a reminder of your resilience, a lesson about attachment, a nudge toward a more authentic life. Even the wounds that still sting have shaped your heart in ways nothing else could. So, when life feels heavy, don't rush to escape the season you're in. Lean in gently. Listen. Ask what this moment is revealing about you. Because pressure isn't here to destroy you. It's here to help you rise into who you were always meant to become. Part 5. Not every spark deserves your fire. Life will always present you with sparks, harsh comments, unexpected problems, misunderstandings, moments of disrespect, sudden obstacles, waves of self-doubt. Most people throw their fire at every single one. Every spark becomes a blaze. Every disturbance becomes a war. But the truth is simple and liberating. Not every spark deserves your fire. Not every situation is worth your peace. Not every invitation to battle must be accepted. What drains you most in life is not the event itself. It's your reaction to it. Someone's careless words sting for a moment, but your replaying of them can haunt you for days. A plan falling apart frustrates you briefly, but your resistance keeps the wound open. Your reaction can multiply the pain long after the moment has passed. Buddhism teaches that suffering often continues not because of the event, but because the mind keeps the story alive. This is why protecting your peace begins with understanding a powerful truth. You are allowed to not respond. Silence is not weakness. Ignoring unnecessary conflict is not avoidance. Choosing peace is not the same as losing. Sometimes, the deepest strength lies in letting the spark burn out on its own, instead of feeding it with your energy. Pausing before reacting is one of the sharpest forms of wisdom. In that pause, you reclaim your power from the moment trying to provoke you. When anger rises, when fear spikes, when irritation tightens your chest, pause. Nothing good has ever come from the first reaction that emotion demands. The pause interrupts the storm. The pause resets your nervous system. The pause gives your mind space to breathe again. And it's within this pause that you practice the art of responding only to what aligns with your values, not your impulses. Ask yourself, does this moment deserve my energy? Is this battle aligned with who I want to be? Will reacting help, or will it just drain me? You'll be surprised how quickly most battles lose their importance when viewed through the lens of your deeper values instead of your immediate emotions. Imagine this. Someone throws you a spark, a rude message, a cold expression, an unfair judgment. You have a choice. You can pour your fire into it, ignite a flame, and let your day burn away. Or you can step back, breathe, and let the spark die on the ground. Fire dies when it isn't fed. So does unnecessary drama. Buddhism teaches us to train the mind to remain spacious and still. A mind with space doesn't react to every disturbance. It feels irritation rise and drop. It notices anger appear and fade. It hears the inner critic speak and settle. This spaciousness becomes your shield, not because life becomes easier, but because you stop being consumed by every ripple on the surface of your awareness. Consider daily annoyances: someone cutting in traffic, a long checkout line, a message you wish you hadn't seen. These sparks pull you toward reaction out of habit, but habit isn't identity. Habit isn't truth. You can break the loop simply by choosing to stay centered. Every time you remain still in the presence of a spark, you strengthen your ability to navigate life with calm power. And here's the deeper truth. Most conflicts never needed to happen. Most arguments never needed to begin. Most emotional storms never needed to be fed. When you stop attending every battle, you discover how much lighter life feels. You realize how much of your inner fire has been wasted on moments that didn't deserve it. And you begin to save your energy for the things that actually matter: your growth, your peace, your path. Not every spark deserves your fire. Some sparks deserve only your silence. Some deserve your breath. Some deserve nothing at all. And when you learn this, you stop living in reaction and begin living in wisdom. Every blocked road hides a doorway you didn't notice before. When life presents a problem, our first instinct is to push against it, to resist, to complain, to ask, why is this happening to me? But what if the problem isn't a punishment, but a portal? What if the thing blocking your path is not there to stop you, but to redirect you? Every blocked road hides a doorway you didn't notice before. Problems are not always dead ends. Sometimes they're hidden entrances to a part of yourself you've never met. Think about the last time life forced you to change direction. Maybe a relationship ended. Maybe a plan failed. Maybe an opportunity slipped away. At the time, it felt painful, unfair, heavy, confusing. But later, you realize that moment pushed you into something you would have never chosen on your own. A new skill, a new strength, a new understanding, a new version of yourself. The problem didn't destroy you. It corrected the path you were meant to walk. Buddhism teaches that suffering reveals attachments. We suffer not because life changes, but because we cling to how we wanted it to be. We cling to the job we thought we'd keep forever, the relationship we thought would last, the identity we spent years building, the comfort we didn't want to lose. When life shifts, the attachment breaks, and the breaking hurts. But in that breaking, we discover what we were clinging to. We discover what was fragile. We discover what needed to be released. A problem is often a mirror. It shows you the expectations you hold too tightly. It shows you the fears you haven't addressed. It shows you the illusions you've mistaken for security. When something feels unbearable, it's usually pointing towards something deeper inside you, a belief or attachment ready to evolve. This is why Buddhism encourages a powerful practice. Ask, what is this moment trying to teach me? Ask it when things fall apart. Ask it when you feel lost. Ask it when someone disappoints you. Ask it when uncertainty scares you. This single question transforms the problem from an enemy into a guide. Maybe the struggle is teaching your patience because you've lived too fast for too long. Maybe it's teaching you boundaries because you've been giving too much of yourself away. Maybe it's teaching you resilience because life knows you're capable of more strength than you realize. Maybe it's teaching you to let go because what you're holding on to is actually limiting your growth. Every lesson begins with a disruption. The Buddha taught that obstacles are invitations to awaken moments designed to pull us out of autopilot and into deeper awareness. When everything goes smoothly, we rarely question life or ourselves. We coast, we sleepwalk, we cling to comfort. But when something shakes us, a loss, a failure, a betrayal, a sudden change, we wake up. We start seeing reality without filters. We start noticing the patterns we've been ignoring. We start asking deeper questions about who we are and what we truly want. Imagine walking through a forest and finding your usual path blocked by a fallen tree. You could stand there, angry, kicking the trunk, insisting that the path should be clear. Or you could walk around it, and in doing so, you notice a small opening you've never seen before. A hidden trail. Maybe it leads to a stream. Maybe it leads to a clearing. Maybe it leads to a view that changes your perspective forever. The obstacle didn't stop your journey. It expanded it. The same is true for your life. Sometimes the path you planned must collapse. Not because you're losing something, but because you're being redirected towards something deeper, richer, more aligned with who you're becoming. Problems feel heavy only because they're unfamiliar. Doorways feel scary only because you've never walked through them before. So the next time you hit a wall, pause. Don't immediately try to climb it or break it down. Instead, step back and look around. What doorway might be hiding beside it? What new path might be opening because the old one closed? What wisdom is waiting for you inside the struggle? When you approach problems as portals, something beautiful happens. You stop resisting life. You start cooperating with it. You stop clinging to what was. You start opening to what could be. You stop fearing change. You start trusting your evolution. Because the truth is simple and often overlooked. Life is never blocking you. It's guiding you. And every obstacle you face is quietly whispering, there is another way. Look again. Part 7. Faith is not blind hope. It is memory. Faith is a word people often misunderstand. Many think faith means believing in something without evidence, hoping for the best, or pretending everything will magically fall into place. But Buddhism teaches a different, far more practical truth. Faith is not blind hope. It is memory. It is the memory of every moment you thought you wouldn't survive, and still did. It is the memory of strength you've already shown, clarity you've already felt, and storms you've already found your way through. Faith is carrying a lantern made out of your past strength, a lantern bright enough to guide you through moments when the path ahead looks dark. Think back to the hardest experiences of your life. The moments when your heart felt too heavy, when fear overshadowed your decisions, when the future seemed impossible to face. Maybe you were grieving. Maybe you were alone. Maybe you were terrified of losing someone, something, or even yourself. At the time, it felt like you wouldn't make it through. And yet, here you are. Not only alive, but wiser. Not only standing, but more compassionate. You have already survived more than your mind likes to admit. This is why faith is not built on wishful thinking. It is built on lived experience, your own. Undeniable proof that you are capable of walking through difficulty. When your mind tries to scare you with imagined futures, faith gently reminds you, you've been through worse. You've navigated storms before. You're not as fragile as your mind makes you believe. Faith is not a fantasy. It is a memory. But faith also grows from understanding impermanence, the Buddhist truth that everything changes, nothing stays fixed, and no experience lasts forever. Every emotion rises and fades. All challenge peaks and dissolves. Every season ends. When you understand impermanence, you stop believing that your current struggle will define your entire life. You begin to trust the natural rhythm of things. After the night comes morning. After the storm comes stillness. After fear comes clarity. This trust is what Buddhists call saddha, not faith in a specific outcome, but confidence in the path itself. Saddha is the quiet conviction that life unfolds in ways we cannot always predict but often understand in hindsight. It's trusting that your heart knows how to heal, that your mind knows how to stabilize, that your spirit knows how to rise, and that your inner wisdom knows where to guide you, even when you cannot see the full picture. Yet Saddha is walking into the unknown, not because you're sure of what will happen, but because you're sure of yourself. Here is a practice that strengthens faith in a real, grounded way. Recall 3 moments you overcame fear. 3 moments when you thought you couldn't handle something, but you did. You felt lost, but eventually found direction. You felt broken, but eventually grew stronger. Write them down, name them, remember them vividly. When you revisit these memories, something powerful happens. Fear loses its credibility. You realize your mind's predictions have been wrong far more often than they've been right. You realize your resilience has shown up again and again, even when you doubted it would. And suddenly, the future feels less threatening, not because it's predictable, but because you are capable. Faith also grows through compassionate awareness. Instead of demanding guarantees from life, you gently acknowledge your fear without letting it lead. You say, I feel afraid, but I trust myself. You say, I don't know how this will unfold, but I believe I can walk through it. This is not denial. It is emotional maturity. It is the understanding that fear is not an enemy, but a messenger pointing to where trust needs to be strengthened. Faith is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to keep walking even when fear walks beside you. It is the understanding that uncertainty is no danger. It is merely space for growth. When you carry the lantern of your past strength, even the darkest uncertainties become navigable. Think about how many times your mind told you, this is the end, I can't handle this, I won't recover, I won't survive this pain, yet every single time, you moved forward anyway. You adjusted, you healed, you grew. Your track record is flawless, you've survived 100% of your hardest days. Your mind forgets this, but your memory doesn't have to. This is the heart of Buddhist faith. It asks you not to trust the future, but to trust yourself in the future. Not to trust the path, but to trust the walker. Not to trust that life will be easy, but that you will meet each moment with the strength you've already proven you possess. So when uncertainty rises, don't look outward for reassurance. Look inward at the lantern you've been carrying all along, the one crafted from every victory, every healing, every moment of courage you didn't realize was courage. That lantern is bright. It is steady. It is yours. And as long as you hold it, no darkness can truly overwhelm you. Closing reflection. Return to the quiet that was always yours. You don't need to fix your entire life in one breath or carry every answer on your shoulders. You don't have to map the future or solve every uncertainty tonight. All you truly need is to return to your breath, to your center, to the part of you that remains steady even when everything around you feels unsteady. Worry may still visit you from time to time. It may whisper old stories, stir familiar fears, or try to convince you that the road ahead is darker than it really is. But just because worry knocks doesn't mean it has to lead. You can let it appear without giving it control. You can feel it rise without letting it take over. You can acknowledge its presence without allowing it to define your path. When you begin to walk gently with your mind instead of fighting it, suppressing it, or believing every thought it creates, something quiet and powerful begins to shift inside you. You start noticing the subtle peace that lives beneath the noise, a peace that never actually left, only became hidden beneath layers of fear, pressure, and overthinking. That peace rises naturally the moment you stop forcing life to make sense, stop chasing answers, and stop trying to control what has never been within your control. Peace isn't something you find outside of yourself. It isn't waiting in a perfect future or hidden behind a life without problems. Peace is what emerges when your mind softens, when the inner storms begin to settle, and when you finally remember who you were before worry took the lead. The more you return to yourself with compassion, with breath, with awareness, the more clearly you see that you already carry the strength to meet whatever comes next. Not through certainty, not through perfection, but through presence. As you step into the next moment, do it gently with trust in the resilience you've built, the wisdom you've earned, and the calm you've rediscovered. Take one slow breath and feel yourself arriving back home, back into the space where clarity lives and peace quietly waits for you. If this reflection brought you even a moment of stillness or helped your mind soften, consider sharing it with someone who might be silently carrying their own worries. And if you'd like more teachings like this, more Buddhist wisdom, more calm guidance, more reminders to return to yourself, you're warmly invited to subscribe to Deepest Wisdom. Join this journey of inner peace and mindful living, and let's continue walking this path together, slowly, softly, and with intention.